Hi guys, it's Maya here and I'm testing my new webcam and microphone by doing a review of The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. And this is the book that you chose for me to read and review in my September stack of 5 video. And let's get into that. The Coldest Girl in Coldtown tells the story of our world after a vampire infection, and where the most infected cities were closed off, walled off, and all the vampires and people that were in there at that time were just walled in there. And whenever people get infected in the outside world, they are either brought to the cold towns by bounty hunters, or then they go and turn themselves in. And anyone can go and turn themselves into Coldtown, but you can't get back out unless you have a marker which you get if you turn a vampire in. And this story tells about Tana, a teenage girl who, after a vampire attack, ends up driving her ex-boyfriend and a vampire boy to the nearest cold town. First, I have to say that I really love Holly Black and I really love vampires, so this book felt like it was custom made for me. And let's talk about the characters first. The main character, Tana, was my favorite character. She is courageous and independent and decisive, but she doesn't come off as this all-powerful hero character, but as a regular teenage girl, and I really liked her. I also like the vampire character Gabriel, who's perhaps not all there anymore after living for a while as a vampire, and I thought he was a really interesting character to follow. I also really liked the plot. I was really drawn into Tana's story. But then there's the structure of the book. Only every other chapter follows Tana and what's currently happening, and then every other chapter is either from another person's point of view or is a flashback. And I didn't quite enjoy this because I was really drawn into Tana's story and I wanted to know what was happening and what was going to happen next, only to find out that the next chapter wasn't a continuation of that scene. The weakest chapters for me were the flashbacks into how Gabriel was made a vampire. I know some people might like them, but to me it felt like I've lived that story so many times before. It brought nothing new. It was a bit derivative. If you read Interview with the Vampire, if you watched a lot of vampire shows like Angel Lore of the Vampire Slayer, you know the sort of structure that the story will take and what it will be about. And it didn't feel nearly as fresh as Tana's story did, and I think that was the weakest point of the book. But at the end of the book, in the acknowledgements, Holly Black thanks these classic vampire stories like Vampire Chronicles, Sunglasses After Dark, Carmilla and stuff like that. This makes the vampire flashback scenes feel more like an homage, and I think Holly Black must have had a great time in writing her own vampire origin story, but sadly it wasn't that great for me to read about it. When we're talking about what I didn't like about the book, I felt like there was one character that was only there to be used as a plot device for one twist and was not a fully fledged character. Now I didn't like that, and I think the book would have done really well even without that plot device. It wasn't necessary to the book at all, in my opinion. But yes, mostly I really loved this. I loved the characters, I loved Tana, I loved Gabriel, I loved the secondary characters. I really liked the goth twins Midnight and Winter. I've read in some reviews that some people don't like Holly Black's characters, but I've always liked them. I feel like they have their flaws, they feel like they're human. And there's always a bit of this gothic aesthetic that I really like, because I'm a bit gothic. So that was fun. I really enjoyed that aspect. Also, Tana's story, the main plot, was really good. I also really liked the take on vampires, the twist being that in these cold towns they have things like webcams and they have web shows and even TV shows, and these vampires broadcast things like their parties, and some of the vampires are like superstars and loved by teenagers and stuff like that, and their live feeds are watched in the outside world. I thought that was a really fun idea and I really enjoyed that. So in the end I gave The Coldest Girl in Coldtown 4.5 out of 5 stars, just the 0.5 that I took out because of some of the flashback scenes and that one character. And I really highly suggest that you read this if you enjoy Holly Black and if you enjoy vampire stories. And I'm really glad that you chose this book for me to read. So good one, guys. So that's the end of the review. I hope this video is good enough quality that I can upload it. The positioning wasn't perhaps the best, but I will fine-tune this in future videos. And I hope you have a good reading week and I'll see you guys later.